Baby, look at here. Lawyer Bay is back in the chat, okay? It has been a long night. I have been up all night. I have been reviewing this Todd and Kandi situation because y'all would not let me rest. I will start by saying I am not above reproach. I can be wrong. And while most of you are not going to like what I'm about to say, the prenup's getting thrown out. If y'all want to talk about it, let's do it. I stayed up all last night doing research. I rewatched the wedding special. I went on to Fulton County's district clerk's website, and I have reviewed the divorce pleadings as well as Todd's responses, and I have a newfound outlook on this situation. I do not believe that this prenup is going to stand, not because I believe that Todd was under duress or Todd didn't know what he was signing, but as attorneys, we have an ethical obligation to follow a list of rules. I'm not going to go through all those rules because it's not important. But the most important rule that we have to follow is we as attorneys are not allowed to talk to parties that are represented by counsel. I am only able to speak to the opposing party if they are a pro se litigant. What is a pro se litigant? A pro se litigant is someone who is representing themselves. I rewatched the wedding special. Todd never fired his attorney. So Kandi's attorney was performing in an unethical manner when she sat down in that hotel room and had him to testify in front of the notary that he was signing this prenup of his own volition. Kandi's attorney should have never been in a room alone with Todd, speaking of things that were relating to the legal proceeding that was before them. It is unethical, and baby, she may be in a little trouble herself. So where does that put us? That puts us at, I think that a judge is likely going to throw this prenup out. I do not think that it's going to stand. I think that the attorney was unethical in the behavior that she exhibited. This is just what I can see. I don't know if there are deleted scenes. So there could be a phone call that I am not aware of where Todd may have fired his attorney. But if things are the way that they stand, this prenup is getting thrown out. Where does that leave us? If the prenup gets thrown out, then we are now at a situation where all of the property that was collected during the marriage is going to be split in a just and right manner. That doesn't mean an equal manner. It means a just and right manner. If
Hi, this is Randy. I'm sorry I can't take your call. Leave a message.
Hey, Stevie. I'm sitting here with Todd. Do you mind if I put you on speakerphone? Okay. He wanted you guys to call his attorney, but why didn't you call him today?
Because I guess it didn't seem like it was necessary. I mean, what I read in the comments was that he didn't have enough time.
Now, guys, what we learned in that short snippet is that Kandi's attorney did not feel that it was necessary to contact Todd's attorney. As you saw, Todd did try to call his attorney, but the attorney did not answer. This is where it could potentially be a situation where the prenup is thrown out. Now, I'm not a lawyer. I'm researching this just like you guys can. Georgia Rule 4 refers to the Georgia Rules of Professional Conduct for Attorneys and includes several provisions. The most notable is the no contact rule, being Rule 4.2, which governs communication with the person represented by counsel. Now, the issue here is that Todd had an attorney. Whenever you are represented by counsel, okay, and the person, which we know that Kandi's then attorney knew that Todd was represented by counsel, she was not supposed to have any types of conversation with Todd when she knew that he was represented by counsel. Now we're not even talking about any type of duress. We can even make the claim that Todd knew what he was signing. We can even say that. The fact of the matter is, Todd was represented by counsel. This is a rule. It is a Georgia rule of professional conduct for attorneys. No attorney wants their client to be talking to another attorney when they are represented by an attorney. Okay, let's get into that. This rule, also known as the no contact rule or anti-contact rule in a legal context. This dictates the ethical boundaries for lawyers. A lawyer representing a client in a matter, shall not communicate about the subject of the representation with a person the lawyer knows to be represented by another lawyer in the matter. So let's just clear that up. Basically, what this just said, let's just pretend that I'm a lawyer. I'm a lawyer. Let's just say I represent Todd. Okay? We're just going to say this is a scenario. If I represent Todd, I've talked to Kandi's lawyer. She knows that I represent Todd. She cannot talk to Todd about SHIT. Okay, let's just put it to those terms. I know y'all understand that. Here's an exception. A lawyer may communicate with a represented person only if the lawyer has the consent of the other lawyer or is authorized to do so by law or a court order. Now, there could have been something that we missed here where Randy made the exception. Hey, you can talk to my lawyer. I'm sorry. Hey, you can talk to my client. Let's correct that, okay? But when we look at Randy's divorce petition, what did he say in the divorce petition? He said that this prenup may not be as stellar as they make it sound because Todd wasn't actually represented. Okay, guys, I am taking you to the response of Todd and his lawyer, Randy Kessler. I'm going to walk you all through this so you can see exactly what I'm referring to. This is the answer and counterclaim. We're going to skip. We're not going to read this whole thing. If you want to see the entire document, you have to go and watch my previous video. I am strictly concentrating on this first paragraph. This is one of page 9, and we're going to get into it. It says, respondent 𝐃𝐨𝐽 who is the husband, and petitioner 𝐾𝐵 who is the wife. They were married on April 4th, 2014. On that same day, a purported prenuptial agreement prepared by the wife's attorney was presented to the husband. Now, keep in mind, this was presented to Todd on the day of the wedding. Right? Is that what this says? That's what it says. It says, without husband having counsel. Do you guys, let me break it down. This doesn't mean that Todd didn't have a lawyer that he hired, because as we saw in the previous clip, he called Randy and Randy was not available. Without having counsel means that he entered into this prenuptial agreement without his attorney being present, without his attorney knowing, although he actually had an attorney. As I just read to you guys, that previous statement of professional standards that lawyers are supposed to adhere to, this is not something that Todd is required to know. He's not a lawyer. Lawyers are required to know this, and they are required to follow the law. It says, even though wife's then counsel had communicated previously with the undersigned regarding a prenuptial agreement. I want you guys to make sure that you understand what Randy is putting in this document. What Randy is saying is Kandi's lawyer knew that Todd had a lawyer, an attorney, a counsel, whatever word you want to use for an attorney. She knew that Todd had someone that was willing to work in his favor. However, she sat down with Todd, videotaped it, asked him all these ridiculous questions when the first thing that she did was she failed to follow her professional obligations as an attorney. And that was to not have any type of conversations with Todd because she knew he was represented by an attorney. Now, I know some people will say, well, Todd signed it. Todd is not a lawyer. Todd is not required to know anything with regards to a lawyer's professional standards because he didn't go to school to be a lawyer. But an attorney, a lawyer, a counsel, whatever you guys want to call them, they are obligated to follow the professional standards because this is what they went to school for. This lawyer knew when he signed it that she was acting outside of her capacity as a lawyer because, as we just read, the only thing that can override your attorney being present is a court order.
To advise Todd about the agreement.
My thing was like, why not just reach out to him and let's figure something out? Like, we're getting married tomorrow. We need to figure this out.
Todd, the only point that I saw that wasn't just sort of general was what he said in his email, which was, let's say you got sick, or let's say you became disabled. And so Kandi's like, no, I don't want you around anymore. You don't get anything. And that's true.
And I know a lot of you that follow this channel are team woman if they right, wrong, or even if you feel indifferent. But I always say the best place to be is on the side of right. Don't judge a situation based on how maybe some man did you, maybe how a man did someone in your family, or maybe you just don't like men, period. I feel like the best way to look at the situation is to put yourself in it and say, if it were you, how would you want to be treated? In this particular situation, Kandi's attorney had no right to give Todd any type of counsel whatsoever. If you're following the clips that I'm dropping into this video, you just heard Kandi's lawyer tell Todd one thing that she said that could potentially be bad for him is if Kandi just didn't want his ass around anymore and he got ill or he got sick and she wanted him to move the FUCK on. Again, that is a violation of Georgia Rules of Professional Conduct for Attorneys, Rule 4.2. Go look it up. It's called the Georgia Rule 4. If you type in no contact rule, it'll come up. Kandi's lawyer had no right to give Todd any legal advice at all. Because let me make sure you guys understand this. When you are in a profession, you are obligated by whatever that profession's professional standards are. You cannot look to a client and say, well, the client signed it. That doesn't matter. As an attorney, this attorney was obligated by professional standards. It is a rule that she should not have no contact with another attorney's client when she knew who the attorney was. This prenuptial agreement could more than likely be thrown out. And this is exactly what Randy documented in his motion. Let me tell you something about Randy, okay? Now, I know a lot of y'all feel like Kandi's attorney is good. I'm just going to be honest. Based on the paperwork that she submitted, I don't see that. When you constantly make errors in your paperwork, that tells me something. Randy is a fireball-ass attorney, and everything that he's presented thus far can be traced. But all of these mistakes and redoing petitions, it's just a bad look.
If I were to get sick, just get out. It seemed like the document was just so business. It felt like Kandi hadn't even really reviewed it. I'll give Randy a call. I just want to talk through all of his concerns. And, it'll be best if it was
available if he calls it?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. I'll call you back.
So, are you telling me that it's fair that Todd's attorney not be there when Todd is signing a document that he actually hired Randy to assist him with this prenuptial agreement. But some reason or another, Randy is not there, and another attorney, and just so you all know, can Kandi's attorney look out for Kandi and Todd's best interest? Because it seems like that is the role that she's playing when she's advising Todd of what she thinks is the only bad thing for him. This is something that can't happen. I'm just telling you all what is the truth and not looking to, if I specifically like a person, because I'm just not one of those people that if I like a person, I just go with whatever because I like them. No, the truth of this matter is Todd was not represented when he signed this document. And it is clearly documented here because what it does show, and this is what y'all fail to realize, it does show Todd signing it, but it also shows that this lawyer failed to follow the law because she was not supposed to be interacting with Todd and signing any documents unless Randy gave her permission. And based on Randy's position and what he provided as his response in Todd's response to the divorce, he did not give her permission to do this.
So I have Kandi here right now. Can you just kind of run through all of the concerns that you had?
I'm not allowed to talk to her because she had a warrant out and it's being unethical.
Okay, guys, so let's break this down. As you guys saw in the video, Todd calls Randy on the phone. He wants Randy to explain to Kandi whatever he wants him to explain. And what does Randy does? Randy says, unfortunately, Todd, I cannot talk to Kandi. Kandi is represented by an attorney, and it would go against my ethical, professional standards, whatever the verbiage he uses. But what he says is bottom line, he cannot talk to Kandi Burruss. This is not a one-way street. Randy stated he cannot talk to Kandi because Kandi is represented by an attorney. The only person Randy can talk to is Kandi's lawyer. Now, the only way he can talk to Kandi is if she fire her attorney. Then he can talk to Kandi. So this isn't like a one-way street here. This is the law, and it goes for all. It's not for the Kandi lovers to say, oh, Kandi can do whatever it is she wants because we like Kandi. We look up to Kandi. This don't got shit to do with Kandi, but everything to do with the law. If you guys did not hear Randy and what he said, turn on your captions so it can come on your screen. Rewind it. Randy said he cannot talk to Kandi. Kandi's lawyer talked to Todd, knowing Todd had an attorney, sat down with Todd without his attorney, had Todd sign this prenuptial agreement. And it looks like from Randy's response, that is the reason why they can challenge the prenuptial agreement. So I hope that they settle, and Kandi is smart. I'm sure she will. And let's make sure y'all understand, okay? This is specifically for the women. Nobody gets married for anything other than stability. This is for a man and a woman, okay? It don't go one-way street. A man also marries for stability. A woman marries for stability. Now, the man's idea of stability may be a little bit different than the woman, but nobody wants to get married. And then if y'all decide y'all don't like each other, y'all want to get a divorce, they got to get out in 30 days. You might as well have a girlfriend. That is not stability. Nobody wants to be a part of that. So if you think that marriage only serves a woman, it doesn't. It actually serves both parties. That is why they decided to get married. Let's not be dumb. Marriage is a business, and that is why certain people get married and certain people would never.
Baby, look at here. Lawyer Bay is back in the chat, okay? It has been a long night. I have been up all night. I have been reviewing this Todd and Kandi situation because y'all would not let me rest. I will start by saying I am not above reproach. I can be wrong. And while most of you are not going to like what I'm about to say, the prenup's getting thrown out. If y'all want to talk about it, let's do it. I stayed up all last night doing research. I rewatched the wedding special. I went on to Fulton County's district clerk's website, and I have reviewed the divorce pleadings as well as Todd's responses, and I have a newfound outlook on this situation. I do not believe that this prenup is going to stand, not because I believe that Todd was under duress or Todd didn't know what he was signing, but as attorneys, we have an ethical obligation to follow a list of rules. I'm not going to go through all those rules because it's not important. But the most important rule that we have to follow is we as attorneys are not allowed to talk to parties that are represented by counsel. I am only able to speak to the opposing party if they are a pro se litigant. What is a pro se litigant? A pro se litigant is someone who is representing themselves. I rewatched the wedding special. Todd never fired his attorney. So Kandi's attorney was performing in an unethical manner when she sat down in that hotel room and had him to testify in front of the notary that he was signing this prenup of his own volition. Kandi's attorney should have never been in a room alone with Todd, speaking of things that were relating to the legal proceeding that was before them. It is unethical, and baby, she may be in a little trouble herself. So where does that put us? That puts us at, I think that a judge is likely going to throw this prenup out. I do not think that it's going to stand. I think that the attorney was unethical in the behavior that she exhibited. This is just what I can see. I don't know if there are deleted scenes. So there could be a phone call that I am not aware of where Todd may have fired his attorney. But if things are the way that they stand, this prenup is getting thrown out. Where does that leave us? If the prenup gets thrown out, then we are now at a situation where all of the property that was collected during the marriage is going to be split in a just and right manner. That doesn't mean an equal manner. It means a just and right manner.